the LAPD Metropolitan Communications Dispatch Center. Join Chief Charlie Beck for a conversation regarding the Chief's message for the month of April 2014. First week of April is the National Dispatchers Week.
Yeah, it's a really great opportunity to say thank you for people that do so much for the Los Angeles Police Department and for everybody that's watching this. You know, if it wasn't for our dispatchers, you know, we wouldn't be near as safe or near as effective as we are. They're the gateway to everything. They're the gateway that the public uses to get to the police department, and they're the gateway that we use to get to each other. Well, you know, without effective communications, we're nothing. We're 10,000 individuals running around aimlessly, you know, and that's not an effective model. You know, all of us have got to be coordinated, all of us have got to have the same mission, and all of us have got to have the same ability to reach out, and that's what communications does. You know, you look at how impressive this building is. Well, we have another one exactly like it out in the valley, and that's for replication, so that should this center go down, the other one can take over.
1997, the North Hollywood robbery. This is an incident where the actual RTOs took care of that situation. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Oh, absolutely. I was listening to it as it happened, and the radio telephone operators, the RTOs at the time, ran the situation until the helicopters got there and were able to put some sense to it. You know, and that happens over and over again. Every day in the Los Angeles Police Department. You know, these men and women take chaos and make sense out of it. Every 911 call in the city of Los Angeles goes through these men and women, whether it's fire or police call, and then they determine which resource is going to go to, and then they stay on the line to make sure that if the police are needed, they're dispatched.
One of the things that I personally miss just in my time on the job is the turkey gobble that we had on the old radio.
Well, you know, there were a number of little cues to what was going on with the radio. You could hear when what they called the link, which was the P3, the training officer that worked in the middle of the horseshoe, and he or she would handle pursuits and then major hot shots, and you know, you could hear the frequency change when the link would take control, because all the frequencies would be combined. And then there were cars, you know, you would always try to get a car with a cheater. And so that wasn't the guy sitting next to you. What that was a little box in the back of the car so you could hear the other units talk. Most of the cars, all you could hear was the RTO. And so you were entirely dependent on the RTO to relay whatever message you had for your partners in other cars to them. You know, not like today where you can hear it over the frequency, or where we could when we had a car with a cheater in it.
When you came on the job, you didn't have a radio on your belt. So when you went into a call, for example, and you needed added resources, what did you do?
Borrowed a phone. Went, knocked on somebody's door, used their phone. You know, that's about all you had. There really wasn't any other way to do it. Or go back to your car and use the radio from the car. You know, it was a simpler time, and you know, to be fair, the things we dealt with were simpler. Isn't today, you know, information is omnipresent, you know, and instant. Then, you know, people understood that it took a long time to get information and to move pieces, and it was just a different time. When my dad started in 1950, there weren't even radios in all the cars, and so you would literally go to the call box and call on the phone to the watch commander to get your radio or your telephone calls, and even before that, the lights on City Hall would light up when there was an emergency request, and you would go, you would walk back to City Hall or find a phone and call City Hall. Our first Hispanic female police officer came on the department in 1946, right after the war. You know, had a long career. She just passed away. You know, a milestone in policing, not just for the Los Angeles Police Department, but for all of policing.
It's interesting because this is an individual who not only broke the gender barrier, but you know, the racial barriers at that period of time. It was really quite significant for us, was it not?
You know, and it's hard to even imagine today. You know, when I look at the new generation of cops and how they think about race, which is, they don't think about race. You know, it concerns them much less than generations before. You know, and racial barriers were a big deal in the 40s and 50s and obviously in the 60s, you know, and they caused huge strife within the city and the nation. You know, we have made so much progress. You know, when I look at our look at the makeup of the police department now, you know, well over 45% Hispanic, 20% female. You know, these are things that were unimagined at the time, but now they're the reality, and we will just continue to reflect the city that we serve, because we are part of the city.
So now we're going to talk about someone that we both know or knew, and my classmate, co-worker, Nicholas Lee.
Yeah, Nick's death was a tragedy that really gripped the Los Angeles Police Department and the city of Los Angeles. Matter of fact, more than that, the whole nation. I have letters stacked 3 feet high from all over America, sending condolences and their best wishes for the family. You know, it always hits us hard, but when a person is struck down in the prime of their life with a young family and a tremendous future, you know, it really makes all of us step back for a minute and recognize how much sacrifice is involved in this job. You know, every one of us, every one of you gives a lot to this city, to the people that live here, to be a Los Angeles police officer. And Nick was no exception. Matter of fact, he was beyond the exception. He was the example.
It must be difficult for you because you have such a long history in the department. Your father on the job and your children are on the job, so it must affect you personally.
Well, of course it does. This place is my family. I've been around it my whole life, literally. And when I see young cops, I see my kids. You know, I'll be frank about it. I see in every young officer's eyes, I see my own kids. And all the things that I worry about for officers, I worry about for my children, and vice versa. So, you know, and then of course, when I see a young family, you know, Nick's 2 beautiful daughters and his wonderful wife and the parents, and you know, for them to be robbed of his presence is just tragic and heartbreaking. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Remember, as we celebrate Dispatchers Week, police work is more than just about black and whites. It's about the whole team that allows us to accomplish our mission. So think about that when you talk on that radio. Be polite, be courteous, and remember, those are your partners, just like the one sitting next to you. Let's keep Nick Lee in our hearts, and always remember his family and the sacrifice they've made. This is my request from you. You take care of each other. Let's make this the last funeral that we have to attend together.